Shabbat Shalom, L'chaim, L'chaim. This week's Torah portion is Tazria, and before we get into it, I just want to specify and clarify that if anyone ever wants or feels a need or desire to be removed from this list, please just let me know. I have no hard feelings, and I'm happy to remove anyone who doesn't want to receive these anymore. Again, no hard feelings. I also want to say that this is a Torah portion that Benaiah, my son, was born on. It's a very special Torah portion to me. The portion, Tazria, opens up by speaking about when a child is born. And it says that if a woman gives birth to a boy, that there are certain halachas that have to come in place. How long is she going to be impure for? That the boy has to be circumcised on the 8th day. And if a girl is born, then it's a different set of halacha. How long is she going to be impure for? And what offerings she has to bring to the temple, which are different. The remainder and the majority of the Torah portion talks about Tzara'as, which is a spiritual ailment. And I saw something really quite good that I've never heard before on Or Sameach, on their website, that said that back in the day, Tzara'as is a spiritual ailment. It's not like today we call it leprosy. It's not what it is. It was a spiritual ailment. And back in the day when a person did a sin, which the Gemara says is like Lashon Hara, is very connected to Tzara'as, that an impurity befalls them, and an impurity will come into their body. And the soul, being a spark of godliness, rejects this impurity and it forces it out. And so it comes and you'll see it appear on the skin because it's being pushed away from the soul and it's appearing on the skin. And that's what Tzara'as was. But these days, we no longer experience that because our soul is too weak. We're too far removed, too weak for our souls to be able to push it up. And so we don't actually see it appear on our skin. And I thought it was a good example or a good answer for why we don't see Tzara'as today. What I wanted to focus on speaking about was a beautiful Devar Torah I saw by the Baal Shem. And he focuses on tefillah. And I'll explain why I think he focuses on this. But he says that when a person is praying, they must work and labor and toil to experience any emotions. And this is a male aspect because sometimes males are not so emotional and they need to really work and change and try to strive to be more emotional and to connect to others and to resonate with others. But if a person is praying and they all of a sudden have a spontaneous flash of emotion, and they break down into tears and they're feeling all these emotions, then that is the female aspect. And he says that when a person experiences this female aspect and a spontaneous arousal of emotion, they must be very disheartened. Because what that means is that heaven is giving you this. But if you labor and toil yourself, you arouse it in yourself. And he says that if heaven has to give this to you, it means that there's certain issues or certain things being brought in the heavenly court against that individual. And the soul can feel this, and it feels overwhelmed and scared. And that is what arouses us to feel those emotions during that tefillah. And all of a sudden we start feeling all these emotions from our soul and from heaven because bad things are supposed to be coming our way. And he says what we must do in this moment is we must strive and toil and realize what's going on, and we must bring out these emotions, and we must try and do it ourselves, come to an understanding, and try to push ourselves to really experience our own emotions, and not just take what heaven gives us and, think that everything is good and jolly. And I think the reason the Baal Shem Tov brings this example is because Tzara'as is a similar thing. It's something that affects the soul. And we might be a bit far gone today to really understand or to really see the effects of Tzara'as, but it's not gone and it's still very much present. And I think today we see it in the environment. An individual is able to sense, for example, if there's an individual who is very manipulative or lies, is untruthful and dishonest, that's something that can be sensed in the atmosphere. And I think this is what Tzara'as can manifest as today. It's understanding that we might not see it as clearly as we did before. We might not see Shem as we did before. But Tzara'as might not show up on the skin. But I can talk to an individual and I could get a certain feeling from them. And it might not be a feeling from above. It might be something that I know and I have an intuition about. And that might help me realize that there's something impure here and something needs to change here. And to bring one more point, because, it's getting late, 5 minutes almost, Baal Shem Tov says that when a person is struggling, they must tell others. And he brings a Gemara in Shabbos, but he says that when a person is burned, they must go around and tell others, because the other people can daven for mercy for them, daven for rachamim for them. And I think this is the idea. We must go around in life and we must see, where is Tzara'as presenting itself? Where am I seeing something wrong, impurity being called out? That's what the Metzora had to do. They had to call out impure. So where am I seeing ailments? Where am I seeing people hurting, people suffering, people in sickness? And strive to help them. Pray for mercy for them. Bring out the emotion in your own heart to arouse mercy for these people. And in that case, Hashem will arouse it for you too. So Shabbat Shalom. I hope that was clear. I hope it wasn't too much. And I hope everyone has a great Shabbos. Shabbat Shalom.